Okay. Do I have to press
Welcome.
OK?
Yeah, looks good. Welcome
Do
to
I get?
Canadian. Yeah, we're recording and we're going. And welcome to Canadian music in the 80s and 90s and more. That's the part that makes it Canadian, the A part.
Oh,
Um,
hey. Okay, man.
I'm pleased to be joined by Stevie Skreebs, bass player for I think one of the great Canadian rock bands from the 80s, Brighton Rock. Thanks for
Thank you
joining
very
me, Steve.
much.
Thanks for joining
Thank,
me, Stevie. I appreciate you
hey,
doing
my
this.
pleasure. Thanks. Thanks for
Um,
your kind words.
I don't know where to start. I loved your music. Some of your songs really got me through some tough times when I was a teenager, and I just loved
Nice.
listening to your music back then. I guess where we'll start is when did you get involved playing music? Like how old were you when you like I got to play an instrument? Like what
Well,
when and what were you listening to when you said, "Yeah, this makes me want to play music?"
well, I was always into sports, and
Right.
I'll be totally straightforward and honest. My first dream was to be an NHL hockey player. You know what I mean? And I remember I'm from Niagara Falls, and I played for Niagara Falls AAA my whole life, and I'd always be in the dressing room with my hockey stick, pretending I was, just goofing around, pretending I'm playing on stage, and the guys would all whatever laugh and what,
Yeah.
just to break the ice. Break the ice. There you go, a little pun there. But at 15, I realized I wasn't going to the NHL. You know what I mean? So, and then that's where I met Greg Fraser, who ended up being the lead guitar player of Brighton Rock, and and when Greg and I met, we just had this chemistry where we were listening to music that, like, we were listening to Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple back then, where everybody else was, not that nobody was listening to that, but they were probably listening to a little more commercial stuff, and
Right.
like I don't even think anybody knew who Blackmore's Rainbow was when it came out, where Greg and I
Yeah.
both couldn't wait for the album to come out because we were reading Circus Magazine, and nobody even knew what Circus Magazine was back then. So I'd say 15, I got my first acoustic guitar. Then I got an electric guitar and learned how to play that. And then once I realized there was a million bands around, but nobody had a bass player. And I was more of a real good rhythm player than I was a real good lead player. But I go, but if I buy a bass player, right? I mean, buy bass, I can probably join any band I want to join around here. And that's what I did. So when I did that, and then Greg said, I got plans for down the road, once I get,
Mhm.
get a little better and meet some more people. And said, do you want to plan something for down the road? He said, learn how to play bass and I'll work on my craft and then we'll work on stuff together. And
Yeah.
that's what we did. So, yeah, I'd say to answer your question, I was about 15 or 16 when I actually started to really get into playing guitar. I tried to take lessons, but I already did stuff by ear. And the little, my teacher was saying, you're not playing but by reading, you're playing by ear, which for playing rock, I think it's good to always know both, but I think to
Right.
train your ear how to play is probably a better way to go. For me, it was anyway.
What were some of the first songs you learned?
On the guitar, my
Yeah.
very first song was "More Than a Feeling" by Boston.
Really great,
You know,
great song to learn.
well,
Yeah.
the intro, that the intro part,
Yeah.
yeah, that was because I ran into a guy that was learning how to play too. He was more advanced than me, but like he was teaching me just easy parts of songs. And I was a Boston fanatic. I went and seen them on their first tour because when I heard that album, it was like, wow, you know.
Probably the
But
most
that,
perfect debut album out there, I
oh,
think.
it was just beautiful. Like everything sounded amazing. You could have a shitty stereo, but it made it sound good.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what was the first band you guys started? It wasn't Brighton Rock, obviously.
No, I wasn't even with Greg in my first band. The first band I was in, geez, what the hell were we called? I can't even remember. Because back then I was in so many different bands, and they were just, we were just playing Sabbath, and Zeppelin, and Ted Nugent, and you know, even some Thin Lizzy and stuff that nobody else was playing.
Right.
Because my buddies, we were all sort of in the same music, but yeah, like I would just jockey around from from whatever cover band to another cover band, tons of cover bands. And then, like, I'd say maybe, okay, yeah, by the time I was 22 or 23, I started playing with Greg, because he'd already gone, he like the same thing. He was playing with as many people as he could. And he actually, he had some studio experience under his belt, because he was with a band that was doing recording. So that helped me down the road, because, you know, he already learned a few tricks from, I think it was Mick Ronson he was doing the producing. So Mick Ronson really knew his stuff back then. And so great, you know, we all learned from each other. Like that's the way it works, you know. So we Greg and I, we had this dream to start a band and hopefully get a record deal. And then we had to find a singer. We found a singer, but the guy lived in Brantford, and we're rehearsing here in St. Catharines in Niagara Falls.
Right.
And we got to be too much of a pain, so we finally found Jerry, and we got Jerry to sing on a demo called "Can't Wait for the Night."
Okay.
Which is off our first album, Young, Wild and Free.
First video too, wasn't it? Was it your first video?
No, We Came to Rock was the first video.
Oh, okay, that's right too.
Yeah, I think that was the very first single. But once we heard Jerry sing "Can't Wait for the Night," it was like, oh, we got something special here, you know. And then we had a manager. He was same manager as Honeymoon Suite, Stephen Pendergast, and he was associated with WEA Records. And so we were making some headway that way, and then got some money from the record company to do some more demos. And the more Jerry sang with us, the more, then we came to rock, and so on and so on. And then we got on a Q107. You know, Q104 was out east. I don't know if it still is at all.
Yeah, it is actually.
Okay, well, we have a Q107 in Toronto, and they used to have a homegrown album, or whatever you want to call it. And we were one of the 12 bands that got on there, and we got to showcase, and that's when all the record company reps came out and seen us. And to tell you a good story, we didn't even place in the top 5 in the contest, but we were the only band, I think, out of the whole album that got a major worldwide record deal. So really? It just goes to show, you know what? We thought because we didn't have any friends that came up to Toronto at the time, because we all lived down here, and nobody's old enough to really drive themselves up here. And it was cool. I shouldn't say old enough, but nobody had their own vehicle to get here. And where other bands were bringing busloads of people, and we're going, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? But yeah, we got a record deal out of the deal. So that's how everything got going.
Wasn't that our Honeymoon Suite got started too on home?
Yeah, a couple of years ahead of us. Yeah, they I think they actually won the homegrown that year. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's the same type of deal. And it's great for any band that's starting out. Like, what a way to get your music out there and strut your stuff on stage. You know what I mean? But a lot of these bands record, but they're not ready to play live. Like, so that's why you gotta have the whole package ready. You know?
Right.
And
like, would you guys have done some like shows during the homegrown process to like some?
Yeah, we were playing. We were at the time, we weren't even called Brighton Rock. We were called Heart Attack.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Heart Attack, what we would do, wherever we would play, we would tell the bar owners, listen, we're going to play 2 sets of covers, but we want to do a set of originals. So that way we could always, there's nothing, when you're working on new tunes, there's nothing like playing them live. You can rehearse them in your basement all you want, or you can screw around in the studio and perfect them, but until you get that live feel, you know.
Yeah.
That's when we knew sometimes that song ain't gonna work, you know what I mean? Nah. And then all of a sudden we go, oh, listen to that song, that's coming to life, you know what I mean? Especially when you get it on stage and there's a crowd in front of you, you just play different, you know what I mean? It's no different than playing sports or anything else. Once that audience is there cheering you on, you know what I mean? It just brings out the best of you, especially if they're females and they're looking really hot.
So was there a big transition from like recording demos to when you first started recording your first album? Like, is it a big transition? Like, is there a big difference in the way you
Like,
record
in
it?
what way? What are you, like,
Like
pressure
you,
wise, or
no,
like?
just the way you put the music to tape and stuff like that, or the way you record it, or
Well,
like compared to
that's
doing a
usually,
demo.
well, depends on who's producing it too, right?
Yeah.
Like, the process would be, say Greg came up with a riff, so he'd come to me with the riff, and then we would, excuse me, we
Yeah.
would work it out as much as we could, and sit down with Mark Caverzan, who was our drummer, and so we would try to get and John too, our keyboard player slash guitar player. But
Right.
like, we try to get the foundation down first, and then we would gradually add pieces to it. And so pre-production, then go into the studio and record. But all the parts were already sort of put into
Pretty much.
place. Yeah, we didn't want to
Yes.
waste time in the studio at that point of our career trying
Right.
to figure out songs. You know what I mean? So you went in there sort of, you could go in with your eyes closed and play your parts. You know.
I'm gonna try and put up a picture of the cover of your first album. I think this was your
Okay.
first. I think this was
Yeah,
your
that
first
is.
album.
And there's an EP that was released before that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's got 4 songs on it. And Breaking Down the Barricade, which is on Young, Wild and Free, is on it. And the other 3 songs aren't on an album. There was The Fool's Waltz. Assault Attack was on there, and that's on the first album too. And it was a different drummer and a different keyboard player.
Okay.
So, but this is the original lineup on the Young, Wild and Free: John Rogers, Mark Caverzan, Greg Fraser, myself, and Jerry McGee.
And
And
who produced this first album for you?
Michael Wag. Okay, Jack Richardson did the pre-production,
Okay.
and we actually did that in Buffalo, the pre-production. Oh geez, what an adventure that was. I remember I picked up Jerry at the airport in not the airport, the bus station in Fort Erie, drove him. We're getting into Buffalo, and as we're getting closer to where it was the keyboard player's house, and he lived in the ghetto, and Jerry's looking at me, goes, "Where the fuck are you taking me?" Because Jerry thought we were going to somewhere a little ritzier, eh? I go, "Jerry, wait to see this place." And said, "I'm not here to be racial or anything, but we were the only white people in the neighborhood."
Yeah.
Everybody was cool. Everybody was cool. It was no problem. You know what I mean? They were all happy to see us because, hey, we were making music in their neighborhood. But so anyway, we did the pre-production there. Jack would come there and visit us in Buffalo, and we'd go over the arrangements and everything, blah, blah, blah. But when we got into the studio to record,
Right.
Michael Wagner was the producer.
Did he
And
work? He worked with White Lion, didn't he?
he worked with White Line, he worked with
Okay.
Scorpions, he worked with Dokken, he worked
Okay.
with Motley Crue, he worked, did I say Scorpions already?
Yeah.
And Accept, he was very close. Do
Okay.
you know Udo from Accept?
Yep. Short fella.
Yeah. Balls to the walls, yeah.
Yeah.
He's very close to him. They're from Germany, right? So, but yeah, so that's who produced it. And because we liked the work he did with Dokken and everybody else that I just mentioned, and and his name was he was like right at the peak of his game, so
Yeah.
you get instant credibility sometimes when you get somebody with
That kind of resume.
yeah, and he was working out of LA, and he flew up or down, flew up here to Toronto, and we recorded it at Phase One in is that in Scarborough? Yeah, Phase One's in Scarborough, I think.
Okay.
And then it got mixed back in LA. And he did the mixing too. And it was engineered by Garth Richardson, who what was Garth's Rage Against the Machine.
Okay, yeah.
He was the one that was one of the, I don't know if he produced it or just engineered it, but he got that real raw, crazy, grungy sound, when they just came out.
Right.
Yeah. And we were close to Garth was Jack's son, so there's all that connection there.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So that must be something to actually even be working with someone of Jack Richardson's
You know,
statue. Like,
Jack,
I mean, the guy's like a legend in any music field, not just Canadian.
and he's in the Musical Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He just got in, I don't know how long ago. I don't know. Geez, I'm trying to think. It wasn't too long. It was pre-COVID, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, his name, like the Guess Who,
Yeah.
Bob Seger.
Bob
He made
Seger,
all
yeah.
their hit songs. He was Jack doing all the he's almost like a co-writer, you know what I mean? And I got so many stories about him in the studio because he was a bass player himself.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He even told us he played on some of Elvis's sessions, and he told us some wild Elvis stories. Oh, like, oh, yeah, just
That's
nothing bad. Just nothing bad. Just
oh,
you know,
no.
Elvis did what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it. You know what I mean?
So did you do a lot of touring for the first album? And if so,
Oh,
who were you touring with? Like some
well, we were always playing because we always figured, how can I put it? You can practice all you want, but the more you play live, the better you get. And just you can't it's not a controlled setting when you're live, so you
yeah.
gotta adapt to whatever happens. You're breaking a string or your amp stops working, or it's just everything that happens on stage is experience, and no two gigs are ever the same. So back to your original question, yeah, we played a lot by ourselves. And on the first album, who'd we tour with? Well, I know we opened up for Honeymoon Suite out
Right.
east, and trying to think. There's so many things that happened. And we went down south. We did a whole American tour on Long Free tour, and I remember we were in Houston. We were opening for Eddie Money. Other than that, we did our own tour in the States. We just had a tour bus and toured all of the United States. But in Canada, it's Honeymoon Suite on the first album, and I can't remember if Triumph was the first album or the second album. Anyway, like those were some of the, like we toured from Honeymoon Suite. We opened for Boston, Triumph, Haywire. Who else? Those were the main bands that we would open with, because we did a lot of Helix.
Oh, Helix too. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we didn't do tour with all of them, but we opened for a lot of them. The main tours were like Triumph and Honeymoon Suite. And
so you got to go right across the country.
Oh, probably 10 times back and forth.
Was that like your first time doing that kind of thing, like yourself, like going across the country like that?
Yeah. When we were Heart Attack, we just mainly played Quebec and Ontario.
So to see the rest of the country and play across the country must have been a big thrill for you guys.
Yeah, it was a big thrill and quite the adventure at times too, depending on what the weather was. And
for sure, yeah.
Just because, we didn't take days off in the winter. We kept going, and no matter what the weather was, we had to be at the next gig. You know what I mean? They don't account for weather days when they're putting the tour together. And I remember it was near the beginning. We were Heart Attack at the time, and I couldn't find a truck that had any headlights working. All I remember is my manager screaming at them, "You better have the equipment at that gig at a certain time." Bobby, this was in the beginning. If it was later on, I was like, "Go fuck yourself." You know what I mean? Fucking, you got a driver down here to fucking drive the thing. You know what I mean? But where were we? Everything was an adventure. Anyway, like I could talk to you all night about all the horror stories, this and that, but like it was all just part of the gig, and that was part of the fun of it. Now, because when you're younger, like nothing really bothers you. You know what I mean? Like
they ask you to do that now, you'd probably be like, ah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember we drove to New York City to do a gig. We got there too late, so we couldn't load in because of the noise bylaw. So we had to drive all the way back here. I think we slept for a couple of hours, and then the next gig we had to open up for Kim Mitchell in the Civic Center in Halifax. Is that what it was called, the Civic Center? Yeah.
Not now. I don't think
Back
it's
then it
called.
was though,
Back
right?
then it was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I'm just saying how crazy. And then we had to drive back this way to open up for somebody. It was just nuts. But when you're 25, 26 years old, who other than the guy
Let's
driving,
do it.
yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? It was fun, man. We did it.
For sure, for
Yeah,
sure. Like
yeah.
I always remember an interview I saw with one of the guys from Spirit of the West talking about their first cross Canada tour in a van. And of course, the best time to do that is in February.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like I remember, I don't know if it was Shawinigan or Sept-Îles, somewhere in northern Quebec, and it was so cold. The air brakes on the tour buses all seized up,
Oh no.
and the speakers and the amps, we had to let them thaw out for like hours when we got them in the arena because they were in the trucks.
Right.
And then some of the guitars, depending on what kind of, if they were custom made guitars, maybe the lacquer wasn't right. I'm not going to mention the name of the guitar because I don't want to, but they're all cracked. It was
Yeah.
like, that's how cold everything was. Yeah. It was like we're talking like minus whatever. It was just ridiculous. But yeah, the air brakes on all the buses were all just, the hydraulics were all seized and up. It was just, couldn't go anywhere.
And you haven't even touched
But
on
we
the
made
great
it to the gig. Everything got to the gig, and the show went on. As they say, the show must go on.
and you haven't even touched on the awesome food you get on the road too.
Well, you know what's funny? In the beginning, when you have no money and you want to get a good meal, you're like, we used to eat cup of noodles. You know, we bring a boiling kettle and just those little.
Yep.
Up that was our 3 hot dogs for $1 at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, once you start making money, your rider's unbelievable, and you're getting whatever kind of steak, lobster, whatever you want on your rider, and it's like,
sure.
Meanwhile, I got at that point, I'm making enough money to go out and buy whatever I want, but like, it's just the way it worked. You know what I mean? But I guess hey, that's awesome. That's like anything. It's paying your dues, right? You know what I mean? And it makes you appreciate everything a little more too. So, and a lot of guys, I think, probably even pull out of the business because they go, "This ain't for me." You know what I mean? It's just, well, yeah, it's not an easy ride. You know what I mean? Everybody thinks it is. You know,
I want to talk about the album that got me hooked, and that was.
Okay. That's, I don't know if you can see. There's the gold album right there. Can you see that? Okay.
Yep, that's the album that.
Take a deep breath. Yeah, it should be almost platinum right now, but we'll never get credited for it because that would cost the record company money. And
yeah, but you guys were getting you guys were really starting to make a way on that album.
Oh yeah,
you had a couple of really big singles, and
One More Try and Hanging High and Dry were like top 10 charted at the time. I don't know what they debuted at, but yeah, somebody was just even telling me the other day, not off that album, but they heard Love Machine on the radio the other day. So we're still getting airplay and stuff. You know, just some people might go, "Who the hell's that?"
Hanging High and Dry is still one of my favorite songs.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, like I remember
great tune.
A bunch of us hanging out and just blasting that song in the car on the way down to the movies in Burlington one night. Just everybody was singing it at the top of their lungs in the car.
Wow.
It was right in there with all the hits we were listening to. You know, we had that blended right in with everything. So I have a lot of fond memories. One of my favorite
songs that we recorded is on that album. It's called "Who's Fooling Who." I don't know if you're familiar with that album.
I am. I'm familiar with the whole album, actually.
Do you know that song, "Who's Fooling Who"? That's I like it because it's a driving groove. You know what I mean? And it just reminds me of being on a motorcycle or something. You know what I mean? And Jerry's just, it's in his range where he's just ripping it. It's a fun song to play.
So you must have got on some good tours with that album too.
Oh yeah, that opened a lot of doors for us. And in TV show, it was a Brian Foster's show, was the show I was trying to tell you about earlier when
right.
Who did we play that with? I told you it was Lana Miles and Barney Bentall was on that, but it was nationwide. It was on CTV, and it was excellent. It was done in Toronto. I can't remember the venue, but it was a lot of fun, and he was a very, very nice guy. Brian Foster.
I've been talking a lot
Yeah.
lately on my interviews with people about the impact Much Music had on a lot of Canadian bands back in there
Yeah.
when they were what Much used to be. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I remember they played your videos a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they would
And
give
they were
any
always,
Canadian band their due when, like, if you were a Canadian band and you had a video, they played it.
yeah. And whenever it was, say, you're releasing a new product, they were always, like, for us anyway, they were always there to support us with, you know, with helping with the release and the production, because you release an album and you have a new video to come out with the first single, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So they were always there to support us. So yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about Much Music, but I don't know what's happened to it lately. I don't even know if it's still a thing or.
Well,
You know.
I was doing some stuff. I had an interview with Michael Williams about, they had a documentary just come out recently.
Oh, okay.
And it played in theaters all across the country.
Oh,
And some of the VJs went and did Q&As after the screenings.
I got you. Yeah, yeah.
I think Michael Williams, Erica
Steve,
M,
what's his name, was
Steve
pretty big.
Steve
Steve
Anthony,
Anthony. He was crazy. Yeah.
Rick the Temp was going along on the tour too, and it was just,
Okay.
and they started right from day one, like when Much Music first went on the air in
Yeah, Erica
1984.
M was a VJ.
Yeah,
Steve
um,
Anthony, Christopher Ward.
yeah, Christopher Ward,
Yeah.
JD Roberts.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
JD
Yeah.
Roberts used to host the Power
Then he
Hour.
broke off to his own show. He had his own, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, music was really rocking on TV at right around that time. You're right. It was
Yeah,
like, I don't even see any of that now, like,
yeah,
unless I'm looking
it's
on the
not,
wrong.
there'll never be an avenue like that to get the music out like there was
Yeah.
back then, like,
Yeah.
but I always thought Much was just so different compared to MTV because they played anything and everything. It didn't matter who you were. Like, I mean, look at the way The Pursuit of Happiness broke. They didn't even have an album out, and
Oh, really?
they did that cheap little video on Queen Street of just Mo
I
standing
don't
there
even.
playing, and they played the hell out of it. It was a terrible filmed video, but they played the hell out of it because they were Canadian.
Yeah.
And they were like that with a lot of Canadian bands. I think they broke a lot of Canadian bands to a lot of people.
And
Made
there
us
was no YouTube or anything back then either. So
no,
like, it
yeah,
wasn't like you could just flick on the internet and watch whatever you wanted like today. You know what I mean? Which it's a catch-22 if you think about it. It's good in a way that it gets you exposure, but
yeah,
so when I grew up and there was no Much Music, I think I'm just a couple years older.
yeah,
The only way you could see the band you liked was by going to the concert.
yeah.
So you know what I mean? I forget what the song "Video Killed the Radio Star" or whatever it was called.
I think that was the first video ever played on MTV, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
really?
I think
Oh,
so, yeah.
oh, I don't even know who the band that played that, but
The
when you really
Buggles,
dig into,
the Buggles.
oh, really?
I'm a
Oh,
bit of an encyclopedia on music. That's
yeah,
why I
you
do.
are. You're like a stats guy.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So,
I gotcha. Yeah,
um,
you remember stuff. I remember the name, but I don't know nothing to identify with that band. But yeah, all I'm saying is, like, I'm the same way. Now I'll put on YouTube, put it through the nice sound system, and you watch any band you want to see, and as compared to going to a concert. And like, I loved the live concerts when I was younger, but now I'm getting a little older. I got spoiled by being side stage or backstage all the time. Just
yeah,
you know what I mean? I love outdoor events. I really like going to see outdoor concerts. Who doesn't in the summertime, right?
the festivals are fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like some of the local festivals.
Like Sammy Hagar says, "Summer nights on the radio."
Oh, I'm such a big Van Halen fan.
Oh yeah, me too. I
Yeah,
love
like I
Van
just,
Halen.
um, and I don't want to get into the argument of whether Dave was better than Sammy, but
Ah,
I liked both.
you know what?
I thought both were just as good. I thought they were different. They weren't the same singers and they didn't make the
Yep.
same music, but you know what? I thought they were both equally as good and they made just as good of music. It was just different.
Well, to me, music's not a competition. To me, music is all about taste, and
Yeah.
that's how I would like people to think. You could like something and love it, and I could say, I don't feel it, I don't hear it, or vice versa. But that doesn't mean one's better than the other. Like,
Right.
people always throw that in my face, and it's like, oh geez. I go, it's not a competition. It's just, and I go, just because I said it's not my cup of tea doesn't mean I hate your music. It's just, it's not my style or my taste. That's all.
Everybody has their own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we all like the same thing, then it'd be kind of boring, right?
Hey, I'm gonna put up one picture here. We were talking about it earlier. But I guess what I wanted to ask is,
as long as I got my clothes on, I don't
oh
care.
yeah, well, you got the Bruins jersey. You can't go wrong with that. So
Pardon me?
you got the Bruins jersey on by the looks
Yeah,
of
that's
it there,
Ray
so.
Bork's sweater. He was my hero at the time. Yeah, I always I'm always cheering the Bruins on wherever I go. So, and that's Mark Caverzan on the other side of Dickinson there, just in case, like our drummer. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was gonna say, like, how many of your heroes did you get to meet through the band, like stuff you did with the band? Like,
well,
obviously meeting Bruce Dickinson is a pretty big thrill.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah. And Steve Harris. Steve Harris was awesome. When we played soccer against Def Leppard, I'll tell you a funny story. Joe Elliott went to kick the ball, and it was just right by my family jewels there. And he didn't kick me there, but he kicked me in the groin. And true gentleman, he stuck his right in the middle of the game. Strick put his hand out, stuck. Sorry, mate. I totally apologize. I'm no good with an accent, but I said, hey, man, don't worry. I know it was an accident. There's no harm done. I said, but if it comes back the other way, it was an accident, right? He just laughed at me, right? But yeah, so we partied with those guys, and well, geez, it's hard for me to. So you're asking musically, right?
Yeah, like, who are some of the heroes you got to meet over the time
Musically, right? Because I met a lot of sports guys through music too.
We can talk about that. We can talk about that too.
Okay, well, I'll
you were
stick
saying
with music.
off air
Otherwise,
about
I'll get confused. There's only so much in between these ears right now that are working.
Sure.
Killed a lot of cells over the years, brain cells. But geez, like, we partied with tons of bands that would, like Motley Crue, Poison, Tesla, Boston. I'll tell you a great story about Boston. When we were opening up for them at Cops Coliseum, they were beginning a tour. I think it was the album with Amanda on it. I forget what the name of the.
Oh, I think it was Third Stage, wasn't it?
Okay, yeah, Third Stage. Yeah, so obviously they're it was the first song of the tour, so they wanted to go over over everything. So the arena was completely locked up, and we'd already done our sound check. They wanted us to do ours first so we can get out of the way, and they could take as much time as they wanted.
Right.
So we sat there and we watched the whole show, like, right front row, with nobody else in the arena, and it was awesome. Yeah, I mean, and Boston was my very first big band thing, so I still had the ticket stub. I seen them in Buffalo at the Odd, and it was like $7 to get in. So I brought the ticket stub to the gig, hoping that I would get the chance to meet, because you don't always meet the guys that are headlining. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're in and out, and sometimes they don't even do sound check themselves, or their road crew will do sound check. So,
right.
So, cut a long story short, there's Tom Scholz. He's fooling around on his Hammond B3 while the rest of the band's gone. They've done their sound check and everything. So I walked up to him. I said, "Hey, Tom, you got a second?" I said, I'm the bass player in the opening band." He goes, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you," and everything. I go, "Listen, I want to show you this." So he looks at the ticket stub. He goes, "Oh my God." I go, "Can you just please sign it for me?" He goes, "My pleasure." He goes, "But I think it was $7 or $8 to get in." He goes, "What year was this?" I go, 1976. I go, to Buffalo Odd. I go, "It was my very first concert, major concert." Like, I've seen smaller venue type of bands, but like, he was just blown away. And I said, "Here we are playing together." It was just, I don't know, it was like one of that movie Rockstar, and you're watching certain things fall into place, and it's like, oh, this is right on. You know what I mean? And then hockey, like, meeting Bobby Orr was like my dream come true. You know what I mean? Like, gee, what can I say? Don Cherry. I still remember playing in the charity game first thing Don Cherry does is open the door and goes, "There's no Swedes in here, is there?" Because at the time, Sweden players are great. I'm not saying, but at the time, it's just when Europeans were starting to come into the NHL. First thing he said, "There's no Swedes in here, is there?" And he came in, he shook everyone. Like, who was on our team? We had Larry Gowan, Terry Gowan, Rick Gammett, myself, Andy Curran. Fraze played. I'm trying to think. Geez, I'm missing guys, and that's sad that I'm missing guys. But all the guys, we got together and we do these charity gigs. We play the cops and everybody, and just raise money for charity, and we get a good crowd. And guys like Don Cherry would come out and promote it all, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's cool to get to do stuff like that when you're.
Yeah,
it's all because you were playing in the band.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, it's amazing the stuff that this kind of stuff brings to you, stuff you'd never thought, like, you probably never thought when you were at that Boston concert in '76, you'd be opening for them and getting your ticket stub signed by.
It was probably the furthest thing. I never even dreamed of it. You know what I mean? Like, and then, but once I knew we were opening for them, it was obviously because I looked forever for that ticket stub. I go, please let me not have thrown it away. You know what I mean? And, but yeah, it all happened so fast too, eh?
Yeah.
Alan, it was just, it was like a roller coaster because you'd like to think you have control, but you don't have control of what's going on around you. You know what I mean? Between management, record company, promoters, whatever. There's, it's just
the harsh reality that it is a
Triumph had that album, Just a Game. It was sort of like that. You just got to hope you land on the right spot. Just some things just were unexplainable.
The harsh reality that it is a business.
Yeah, very much so. You hear stories about other bands, how some guys, like the singer from Badfinger, that's before our time, but like, he just found out his manager was ripping him off and he killed himself. Certain things happen and you just can't control them or get over them, and it's a harsh reality of the real world, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but we had problems with management, record company stuff near the end, but what are you going to do? They gave us a break in the beginning, and I got no regrets over anything. There's a few things I wish we could have accomplished that we didn't, but would have liked to have gone to Japan. I think if we would have made it to Japan somehow, I don't know why we never got over there. I think it would have really opened up the door for us, to the next level,
Right. To the international side, more international.
Yeah, like we were still world renowned. Like right up to pre-COVID, we did the Monsters of Rock cruise.
Right.
And that was like, everybody was like, everyone from Pat Travers to Tesla to Extreme to like there's White Lion, like you said, like everybody was on, and we were just, all right, we're with these guys, you know what I mean? And then when we're playing, I can see that's the thing about Jerry's voice. Like a lot of people probably say, oh yeah, you can do it in the studio, but can you do it live? You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like Michael Wagner was there and Udo was there. They wanted to hear Jerry sing it live, and he delivered the goods, man. He was kicking ass.
Oh,
yeah. And like, where else? There was like this reunion or resurgence of 80s rock. I don't call it metal, 80s rock, because there's bands that were a lot heavier than us. We were more of rock. We were hard rock. We weren't metal. If you want to call us metal, call us whatever you want. But I'd say we were hard rock.
I would never have called you guys metal. I would have called you guys a rock band.
Yeah, okay, thanks. That's way, like Pantera and those bands, I think.
That's metal, yeah.
That's metal, yeah.
Like, so I wouldn't have called Poison or Motley Crue, any of those guys metal. No, I would have called them rock bands.
Yeah, Tesla, same thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say, in the last 10 years, right before COVID, there was this resurgence of festivals all through Europe. And so we were going to England every other year, and Germany, and like nobody over here knows about it because we're playing them over there. And over there, the fans we're walking downtown Manchester on a Sunday going to Starbucks and we're seeing people wearing Brighton Rock shirts. We're going, holy shit, man. Is this,
Yeah.
did somebody pay somebody to do this? And like, we're not filming this. And next thing you know, we're signing autographs in downtown Manchester, and we're not playing for another 2 or 3 days. People are already getting ready for the shows. It's a different, I'm not knocking North America or anything, but like the vibe, when they're into a band over there, they're into the band. They are. They're just.
I remember seeing documentaries
respectfully
about.
so.
I remember seeing documentaries about how big that music still is over in places in Europe.
Yeah,
And
well, that's
there'd
what
be
I'm
like
saying.
festivals with all these guys, and they're just still eating it up over there.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just talking pre-COVID. And that, what, 4 or 5 years ago. So
yeah.
And unfortunately, for anybody that's listening, Jerry, our singer, just passed away a couple of years ago, and so the band is no longer. Just in case anybody's watching this and wondering what's going on, yeah, the band is. I'm not saying we would never do a tribute gig for him, but like, there's been no talk of the band ever playing again or performing, and sadly, we lost one of our best friends and our brothers, and just cherished all the time that we got to spend together, you know.
And that's the thing that I like to hear about that. Like, you guys were friends first.
Yeah.
Not just bandmates. Like, you
and
guys
we were all original. The whole band was original. Yeah. And we even said, if there was some reason somebody couldn't do a tour, because we weren't doing it to reinvent the wheel or anything, you know. We were doing it to have fun and get out there for the fans, and so that's basically the way we looked at it. We did this because we're all still the original guys, and I think we were on our 30th year together. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's quite an accomplishment, you know, and unfortunately, you know, things out of our control happened, and so we called it a day, but we're very happy, and a lot of our dreams came to life, you know.
A lot of fond memories.
Oh, a lot of fond memories. And what's really weird is when somebody else brings up a story and you're going, I totally forgot about that. Or I'll bring up a story and somebody go, I've totally forgot about that. Like, there's so many that, you know, you can't even remember half of the, because I'll be honest with you, sometimes you're in and out of a city and you can say I've been there, but you really haven't seen anything, you know. And
yeah, you ever thought about writing a book?
Trying to get into my motel room or hotel room, and remembering, okay, it was the last room on, I forget what floor, so I'd be going every floor with my key pass until I finally worked. And it's like, and I remember once it worked in the wrong door. So I walked into this room and this woman's alone in the bed. She started screaming. I said, lady, you're in my room. She goes, no, I'm not. She goes, you're in my room. I go, oh shit, I apologize. Speaking of, I'm going to tell you a great story. Well, I'm on that one. Unless there's something you want to interrupt me with.
No,
okay.
Do it.
So
that's why we're here. I want to hear the stories.
So the way it worked on our first tour, we had the tour bus. This is touring the States.
Yeah.
Because
excuse me,
there was no time to play, sleep, and then drive and then get to the next gig. So the way it worked was we would play, shower at the venue, and then jump on the bus, do all the autograph stuff, or if there was any partying to do after, we would, you know, party for a couple hours, whatever. Sure. So, and then we would be on to the next gig. And now, I don't know how your geography is, but Texas, say a place like Texas, pretty big state. So you can drive
forever before you get out of there.
Yeah, forever, just to get to the next gig. So the truck driver would get, not the truck driver, the bus driver would get a room. So he needed somewhere normal to sleep when we were doing our thing. So, but we would all shower in his room if there was no showers at the venue. So cut a long story short, we're playing in Lubbock, Texas. Buddy Holly's home. I think Buddy Holly's from
It is. Yep, it is.
Yeah. So we've been on the road for, I don't know, a month or two already. So you already know what everybody's handbags or luggage bags or whatever you want. It looks like by then, you know, everything inside out. So I just finished taking a shower, and the venue's right across the street from where the hotel room is. So I figured, oh, it's nice to have a little piece of quiet away, you know.
Yeah.
Love the guys in the band, but a little peace and quiet's nice too. So there I am, just watching the hockey game, wrapped up, got a towel wrapped around me. I'm laying in the bed, just chilling out. I go, this is great. I'm looking around. I go, I don't recognize any of the luggage bags in this room. Then I'm going, I think I'm in the wrong room. So I go to the front desk. I go, I explain them the situation. They go, yeah, you're in the next room over. I said, oh, okay. I said, oh, here's the key back for the room. Give me the key for my room. 10 minutes later, a transport truck pulls up. Two guys, they might have, and they're nothing against rednecks. I got some redneck in me too, but they were true Texas rednecks, 300-pound guys, maybe beard, like ZZ Top beards.
Yeah.
Imagine if they would have walked into the room, seen me just in a towel
watching the hockey game.
Watching a hockey game, and I'm soaking wet. Like, I don't think I would have been coming out of that room in one piece. You know what I mean? And I'm going, oh my God. I go, I'm getting back to the gig before they realized somebody was in the room, because it wouldn't have taken them long to realize somebody just showered in there, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't make the bed or anything. I just took off. So anyway, that's just one of many scary possible life-ending stories. There's a few of them, because when you're on the road long enough.
You ever thought about writing a book?
Well, I'm going to show you some. You got 1 second?
I do.
Okay. Well, I can just tell you. There used to be a magazine here called Pulse Niagara.
Okay.
And all it was, I'm sure they have them in Halifax and everywhere. It was like a night. This is pre-iPhone, or even internet or whatever.
Yeah.
So to find out where anybody was playing, you had to either read a newspaper or get one of it was like a nightlife magazine. So I had my own article. This is right after Brighton Rock sort of split, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or took a vacation. Let me put it that. We took a long vacation, like the Eagles.
Yeah.
So I talked to the editor of the or the publisher, well, the editor of the magazine. She owned it anyway. And I said, I got an idea. I said, you got you're reviewing concerts, you're doing this, but you don't really have a musician. And I considered myself semi-professional. So some people would argue that point. But anyway, I said, why don't you let me write something and see what you think? And she got it. She goes, who wrote this? I go, I did. I go, I know it needs editing, but yeah. I go, I called it Inside the Industry.
Yeah.
Something like that. Because I got them all upstairs. I could show it to you, but it doesn't matter. So she ran it for about half a year, because it was every 2 weeks, I think the magazine came out.
Yeah.
And she was getting great response. So to cut a long story short, I was going to take those articles, and I was thinking of turning them into a book and get guest musicians to it was like everything from how to do a sound check, what to do, what not to do, buying a guitar, what to look for, what not to look for, putting a band together.
Sure.
Just all the fundamentals, but there's a proper way and a wrong way to do a lot of stuff, and you only learn by actually going through it and experiencing it. So when you ask me about writing a book, it's funny. Yeah, if you ever know somebody that might be interested in taking that, helping me out with that, I'd be interested in it. I've got a lot of information that's already printed down, and that I would just have to expand on it, and but I just, for some reason, I never followed through on it. Just once the 90s came out and music changed, it just it took a lot of wind. Yeah, it took a lot of wind out of my sails for a little while. I mean, just And that's when Greg and I sort of put a little side project together called Fraze Gang.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump to that actually and ask you. You
Oh,
sent me
okay.
you told me about that before we did the interview about Fraze Gang. You sent me a couple of the videos and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to any of that at all, or.
I did. It's great.
Oh, thank
I
you.
suggest you guys check it out. I'll put some links in the description when I post
Yeah,
this on YouTube.
yeah.
If in case anyone else wants to check it out and stuff like
Well,
that.
I'm
So,
sure that there'd be a couple. By the way, Greg's doing the singing in case you didn't get a chance
oh,
to know.
I did not know that.
We
Okay.
didn't have a singer. So Greg said, I got these songs and we got them all recorded. He goes, I'll just do my best and sing them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and Greg and I used to have an acoustic duo, but it seemed a little easier for us to sing playing acoustically because you can hear it a
Sure.
lot easier. And we played songs that were in our range.
Right.
But I thought Greg did a good job singing. It's just I think he wanted to get a singer, not a guy playing guitar singing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's hard to find. It's just, especially finding somebody you get along with. So we didn't have one at the time because
Right.
Jerry was. If Jerry was going to sing, we might as well be doing Brighton Rock at that time. You know what I mean? So
Right.
everybody was just doing their own thing, and so yeah, that's what Greg and I did after Brighton Rock, and that's when I was sort of thinking of writing a book too. So, and then Brighton Rock came back into the fold, and Fraze Gang had to take a seat, and then we never got it back together. But we recorded two CDs. So if
Yeah.
there's anybody out there ever wondering, what we were doing right after Brighton Rock.
Did you guys get any gigs as Fraze Gang?
Yeah, we did. Nothing major, but we did our own. We did a couple in Toronto, and then we did a couple locally because it was hard to. Live music at the time was just really, especially for original band,
Right.
like tribute or cover bands. Jesus,
Everywhere.
Yeah, but people don't want to just. And I understand if you don't know any of the music, it's hard to, So we did a couple live gigs. They went over good, but it took a lot of work to get them out. And then by the time we did that, Jerry was phoning us saying, "Listen, I'm getting a lot of calls to do some festival gigs overseas." He goes, "So if you guys are interested," well, we didn't want to upset everybody in Fraze Gang, but it's like Brighton Rock's back on the map, so
yeah,
we took a break from Fraze Gang, and we never went back to it. And so now Greg's got a side band that he just started putting together called Storm Force. So I don't know if Fraze Gang will ever get back together, but give it a good listen if you get a chance. I think you'll like it.
I'm always doing stuff like that. That's probably
And
why I'm such a fan of music. I like to see what everybody's doing in every band.
Are you familiar with the name Beau Hill?
No.
He produced Rat.
Oh,
Remember
Beau Hill,
Round?
yes. Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so he mixed Fraze Gang too.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, he mixed every song on there. So if you get a chance to listen to it, the production's really good on it. And he did an awesome job. The first one, we were going from studio to studio, so the production might not sound as, because we had different. It's still good. I gotta watch what I say. I don't want to say like somebody didn't do a good job producing. We just didn't have the money and the time to really do it. But when Greg did it with Beau, technology came along further, so they would send tracks back and forth. And
oh, so you didn't have to be in the same room necessarily
no, so
to do
Greg
all that stuff.
get the track, play it for us. He goes, "Okay, what's everybody like or not like about it?" And okay, try adding a little more of this, take a little of that. And then we'd find a common medium with Beau, and then that's where Jackhammer, that video,
Right.
I sent you. That was the first one Beau ever mixed and produced for us.
One quick question. I like to ask a lot of bands this. I asked Spirit of the West this the other. Is there anything in the Brighton Rock vault?
Yeah.
That could see light of day, or would it be too hard to get together?
No, I don't. With Jerry not with us anymore, I don't think it would see light of day because there's nothing that's totally completed.
Yeah.
And
live recordings.
And there are some good songs too. It's very sad that we not. See, you can't put it. nobody can tell the future, eh?
Yeah.
And if he was still here with us today, yeah, we wouldn't even have to rewrite a bunch of songs because they're there. They just needed some fine tuning, and yeah. So
Is there any live recordings on in a vault
we
somewhere?
do have a live album.
Okay.
It's called A Room for Five Live.
I wasn't aware of that. I'm sorry, I didn't know
Okay,
that.
it was recorded on New Year's Eve in Milton, Ontario, which is close to your home, your original home.
The Hardball? Did you guys
Yeah,
play that? I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that place. I used to
Yeah,
love
Joe
going there.
Cahill used to.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so I don't even know whose idea it was, but we said, well, New Year's Eve will be great because the place is great anyway. So New Year's Eve will be crazy, and so we recorded it. Yeah, yeah. So it was recorded. Late '90s, I think, mid '90s. But so every album up to Love Machine
would have been
there's tunes
represented on
from
that.
every album on there. Like Night. Are you familiar with Night Stalker and Love Machine or any of those songs?
Not offhand.
Well, if you're not, check it out then, because there's some real good. Yeah. So that's with the live stuff, and I wish we would have did a live DVD. You know what I mean? Like there's some live footage of us playing in London, England. The place was called the Marquee. Have you ever heard the Marquee?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of like with what's the major bar in Toronto called?
The El Macombo, maybe.
Yeah, it would be sort of like equivalent to the El Macombo, but you know, the Marquee. And I'll tell you, but when we played the Marquee, this is what blew our mind. When you're in England, the way they advertise, they put these big posters up everywhere, like mammoth posters up everywhere. So, which blew our mind as we're driving into the city. We're going, there's Deep Purple, there's Uriah Heep, there's Black Sabbath. Oh, there's Brighton Rock. It's like, holy fuck. You know what I mean? So awesome. Anyway, we just finished our sound check at around, say, 4:00 in the afternoon. And we're Canadians, man. We're wearing track pants and whatever, you know, we're not dressing up like rock stars in the daytime. We're just there to do sound check. We come out, there was a lineup, and it must have been two blocks long, and this is like at 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah. And
they didn't realize it was us, because that's why we would wear track pants and everything, so nobody would even know it was us leaving the building. But we didn't expect that. It was like, oh my God. This is our first time playing London, England, and look at it. Look at the response before we even hit the stage, you know, and it was great. But I think it's called Hard and Heavy, and they have volume 1, volume 2, volume 2. I don't know what volume would be, but they did record Power Overload, which was the song we used to end the set with every night. So it might be out there on YouTube. I don't know.
You never know what somebody recorded or something from the audience one night. It's really it's hard to police
or somebody
all
could have had a real camera, real video camera, and because I've seen it. So I know Jerry did an interview after it, but during it they showed clips of us actually of playing. It was wild. But it's just wild walking out and seeing people waiting to see us, and it's like, holy shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you never know with YouTube, because I mean, I'm amazed at some of the stuff I've been finding. I've been finding clips of like Motley Crue Theater of Pain tour from Montreal.
Oh.
And it's like, I didn't even know that existed. It must have been because I always thought it was impossible to sneak a camera into those shows back in the 80s. Like they pretty much checked everybody going in, didn't they? But I guess somebody must have managed to do it because it's out there.
Yeah. Depends on what, well, they didn't have cell phones, but you never know what the hell they had back then. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And somebody knows what they're doing, or it could have been somebody that was involved with the crew, or somebody helped them get it in there or whatever. You know what I mean? Was the quality pretty good of the?
No, some of it's terrible.
Yeah. Like, see, I don't know why people even post that. Like, you're not doing.
But I mean, if you were there, you'd watch it, right? Just to go like, hey, I remember that. But I mean, like, I remember one of the craziest concerts I saw was Guns N' Roses and Metallica.
Oh, was that when
92 at the CNE.
was that when Axel was pulling his?
This was I guess there was a riot in Montreal,
Well, yeah,
and
because
then
he was late going on stage, right? He was backstage drinking brandy and smoking cigars, and I think Hetfield went to punch him out or something.
or Hatfield in Montreal got burned by some kind of flash or
That's
something,
right. Yeah,
and
yeah,
had to
yeah.
cut
I
his
heard
set
so many
short.
stories about that. You're right.
And then Guns N' Roses cut their set short, and then they were supposed to play Toronto the next day, and that got postponed. Well, I went to the makeup show like a
Oh,
month and a half later in
I got you.
Toronto, and I would never. I was actually quite frightened to go to that show because like you get off the GO train and there's cops on horses with shields and billy clubs and they're ready for a riot.
Oh,
you know,
really?
because of what happened in Montreal, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they're
I get.
they're,
Yeah, they're
they're
just
ready
being.
for the worst. They are
Yeah,
ready
they're just.
for the worst, and I'm thinking we're gonna get killed tonight.
But nothing happened though, eh?
No, it went off without a hitch. It was great. It was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen. Metallica was just phenomenal.
You know,
Um,
I I don't know what happened in Montreal, but like all my years of playing and even going to rock fans, they're not there to fight. They're just there to enjoy the show. Like they get such a bad rap just because of the music, and then maybe the way they dress up or whatever. But like rock fans,
yeah,
they're not there to fight each other. If anything, it's a
they're there
brotherhood
to
of
have a good
music.
time.
Yeah, it's universal, man.
Well, funny the way things have changed. This is actually, if you don't mind me telling a little story here. Um, I applied to get a job on the GO train about 8 years ago. The guy that makes the announcements saying, Union Station, next stop, that kind of thing. Anyway,
So
there was 30 of us at the first interview. It's a 5 interview process.
yeah,
And the first interview was 30 of us in a room being told why we don't want this job.
what?
Why you don't want this job because of the things you will see working on the GO train. Like,
Oh, okay. So they're just trying to, yeah.
yeah, so basically they said if you are uncomfortable seeing a dead body, because apparently people jump in front of the trains constantly.
Oh,
That happens a lot.
I imagine. Yeah. Now you say that. Yeah.
But the thing that makes me say this about concerts is that apparently the classic rock and rock concerts are tame now compared to country concerts. The country concerts are younger crowds, then they want to drink and get rowdy.
Yeah, you're
Whereas
right.
like you go to a Rush concert and it's like, 45, 50-year-old guys bringing
Yeah.
their sons to see Rush
Yeah. Yeah.
because their sons play music.
Yeah.
And they respect Rush as musicians. They're not there to get drunk and get stupid. They're there to watch a
Yeah.
really awesome band.
Well,
Whereas
you made
like,
a good point. If you're a Rush fan, you are there to check out,
yeah,
the instrumentation and everything.
well, you're a bass
Yeah.
player. You know how good Geddy Lee is.
Oh, Getty was one of my. I bought an imitation Rickenbacker. That was my first bass because he was playing Rickenbackers back then, and I even had one of those. Remember, they were wearing those like silk kimonos. Like I even had one of those because they used to sell them in the tourist gift shops on Clifton Hill there. And I said, well, I used to wear that on stage because that's what Getty wore. You know what I mean? Just,
That's, I swear, Niagara Falls is one of the places I really miss from Ontario, to be honest with you.
well, it's not the same as it used to be.
No,
I
definitely
hate
not.
to say it. I don't want to give Niagara Falls a bad name here, but it used to be it was a great place to grow up.
Yeah,
Like as a teenager, I loved it here, man. It was just
yeah,
it was vibrant. There's women from all over the world coming here to be a tourist and enjoy themselves. There's sporting events. We
right.
had the Niagara Falls Convention Center. I could go to Hamilton, Toronto. Everything was going on. I was right in the heart of everything, and
Yeah,
it was just. And then, like I told you, I was talking to you earlier. There's hockey here too. Now hockey's sort of like disappearing from this area. And going, the fuck is going on?
yeah, for sure.
Well, tourism's just taken over, and what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Life changes.
I felt it kind of changed when the casinos moved in.
Well, you're
It
right.
started it started changing
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
a
you're
bit.
absolutely right. Yeah, I brought in a different kind of crowd, and then it pushed another crowd away, type of thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that happens everywhere, I suppose.
Oh yeah, it's evolution, right? You know, it's, you know, if you got something, if somebody comes in and can make money somehow, they're gonna do it, you know.
Well, I can't
But you know,
thank
I
you.
still live here, so
Nothing
you know, I
wrong with
live.
that.
Yeah, I still live here, and I'm in the North End, so I'm away from all the tourism and all that stuff. So I like, you know, I'll probably reside here. I like St. Catharines, very nice there too.
Is the UFO restaurant there that served the
Well, the
awesome
Flying
breakfast?
Saucer. Oh yeah,
Flying,
yeah,
is it
yeah.
still there?
Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere. You know,
Yeah.
that's a landmark here in Niagara Falls. You
When
know?
I don't drink or anything anymore, but I remember many hungover breakfasts over
Oh,
there.
till 4 in the morning or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
great place to go and meet other drunk girls too. You know?
sure. Not
Everybody
the
goes
greatest
and then,
food in the world, but
pardon me.
not the best food to be eating at that time of the morning.
Well,
But
yeah, they do have good food, but yeah, you're right. At that time of night, yeah. Well,
prob-
it's probably good to soak up the booze so you're not like super
yeah,
hungover the next day. You know what I mean?
very
But
true.
yeah, that's one of the many landmarks in Niagara Falls that I remember that place. Yeah, it's still there.
Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me for an interview here,
Oh,
Stevie.
this is great. And you know, I wanted to tell you about Take a Deep Breath. I
Yeah,
should have mentioned it earlier. Jack Richardson produced the whole thing, the
yeah,
pre-production and the production. I mean, and the album. So, and Andrew Scareth was the engineer on that. So I got to
yeah.
give credit where credit was due. And Toby Wright did our third album, which was called Love Machine.
I mean, to work with a guy like Jack must have been just
All
incredible.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
just
So when I should have said that. Maybe I did say it when you held up the album, but just in case I didn't, he was the one who produced that album. So, and yeah, and thanks, Jack.
you
Learned a
guys,
lot.
you guys
Learned
did
a
a
lot
lot,
of.
man. I give credit where credit is due, and you guys had a good thing going there for a while, and I really enjoyed the music you guys were making.
Well, thanks,
Um,
man. I appreciate you saying
and
that. And
it's great to have you on here because I mean I'm kind of like you with the whole Boston story you told. Um, I can't believe the people I'm talking to now. Like,
okay,
I mean, I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to one of the guys from a band that I listened to quite a lot when I was younger. You know, I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to you. I can't believe I talked to the Spoons. I can't believe I've talked to Mike Bullard in person. Like, it's
yeah,
unbelievable that I never thought I'd get this far with this, if you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah.
I
And you
don't,
know what? It'll grow and grow. You know,
yeah.
it's and then you see the other side of the person's personality, and then you hear these stories from behind the scenes, and you go, oh, okay.
But the main thing I'm seeing from doing this is that, you know, when you're young and you're a teenager, you don't see the real side of this.
Well, no,
And
because
then after
you're not.
growing up, I
Yeah,
realized you guys are just people too, and you were doing what you did.
yeah,
You know, you know, and maybe it's not as glamorous as people thought it was, because it
yeah.
definitely wasn't. Like, I mean, when you're on the road traveling by tour bus, you're not exactly seeing the glamorous part of the world. You're seeing, you know, crappy truck stops at 3 in the morning and, you know, eating terrible food and,
Well,
you know,
you're right. It's not as easy as people think, you know.
yeah,
And even my dad, like my dad, you know, he's pretty streetsy. He used to even ask me, he goes, so when you guys, you know, you're down in Oklahoma or somewhere and you pull into a truck stop, because that we used to do that to shower too, you know what I mean? Pull
yeah,
into a truck stop, blah blah blah. And now those guys, you, there's some tough dudes there, you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's what these. He goes, so you guys have any problems? I go, you know what I mean? Then I remember it might have been New Brunswick, might have been Nova Scotia. Our road crew shows up at our hotel about 5 hours late, and we're phoning the cops. We're going, was there an accident? What
Yeah.
happened? Blah blah blah. And I remember our sound man, who was the truck driver too. He comes, knocks on our room. He's got blood all over him. He goes, "Yeah, we had a little problem at one of the truck stops." He goes, "But don't worry, it's not my blood."
Wow. See, that's great
So
book.
yeah,
That's great
they're
book material.
Well, there's, there's a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I wouldn't change any of it for the world. It was a dream come true.
Lifetime
Uh,
of memories.
pardon me?
It's a lifetime of memories.
Oh, it is. And I like we were just saying, it's not all glamorous. There's a lot. The best part of it all is, and I'm sure it's a cliche, you've heard Alex Lifeson and other, being on stage is the best part of
Yeah.
the whole day. I mean, it's a lot of work sometimes to get up there and do what you
Yeah.
got to do. You know what I mean? And these guys are doing it like we were doing it up to just a couple of years ago, and it was starting to get physically
Yeah.
demanding. But you just got to take care of yourself. You manage it a little more, and I give anybody that's still out there doing it a lot of credit, because
Yeah.
it's a grind. It's a
It is.
blast, but it's a grind. And
Yeah.
let's face it, you want to make sure you're doing the best you can, because now everybody's filming everything too. So what I mean,
Yeah.
it's
You never know who's got a camera out and
yeah,
who's gonna
exactly.
post that somewhere. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and especially for the singers, you know what I mean? It's like if you're having a bad night,
Well, I've
you know
always said
that's
there's two ways to tell you're getting old. One is when all your favorite bands are playing casinos. Uh, and the second one is when
but
you
they
start.
pay good. The
They
casinos
do.
pay good.
I bet they do. Yeah.
They
Um,
do. Because
and
that's
when
what we
you,
were doing. It's funny you say that, because up the last, say, 5 years, for some reason, this casino thing just kicked in, and they'd fly us in for one gig and then fly us home and
yeah,
give us a nice room and our own rooms and pay us really well. And so I thought, yeah, okay, we'll keep doing this as long as we can.
I remember. I mean, you walk through the hallways of a casino where the venues are, and you see all the pictures on the wall of
Pictures,
people
yeah,
who played there, and you're just
yeah,
like, wow,
yeah,
there's been some awesome bands here.
yeah,
Nowadays nobody would give a crap about half of them,
yeah,
but I do. You know.
yeah. Well, you know what? They're selling out. Like here in Niagara Falls, they just expanded to they have a 1,500 seater, and now
Oh
they have
yeah.
a 5,000 seater at
Oh,
Fallsview Casino,
that's
and
big.
they're selling out like crazy. Like I know there's comps and stuff like, but like
Yeah.
people still want to see these generational musicians
Yeah.
before they're not playing anymore. Whether it's Paul Anka or whether I've seen even Keith Urban at these, like
Yep.
everybody's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I mean, Foreigner's still out there doing it,
oh,
and
I,
not
I
even anywhere near the original band, but it's still
no,
Foreigner still out there doing it. George Thorogood.
but you know what it is? You made a point, like I said, with us, we wanted to make sure it was all the original bands. I
Yeah.
mean, the original members of the band. Sorry about that. And
Yeah.
that was important to us, because we were like, we
Yeah.
consider ourselves a family, you know what I mean? But band like Foreigner, have you seen them with
I
Kelly
actually
Hansen
did. I
singing?
actually did. I saw them at Ramo when I lived in
Excellent, eh?
Ontario. They sound phenomenal.
Yeah, like
It's everything you want. They just go out there and play the hits.
yeah, and it's the songs that are important, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and for most bands, I don't want to see other people singing it, like, but for some reason, Foreigner pulls it off, and it just, the songs are so good, and Kelly Hansen sings it so good, and I
Yeah.
know Mick Jones doesn't play every night anymore, so, but yeah, they're excellent. It's just,
Yeah.
and even Boston, like Brad Delp's no longer with us, but I seen them.
Yeah.
They have like a guy that sings the lower part and a girl sings the higher, and they blend it too, and it sounds amazing. It's the songs. The songs are all there,
And I think April Wine's doing the same thing because
because Miles just passed.
Miles just passed. But I mean, I think that they have like a band going around as April
Okay,
Wine doing their thing because I thought they're still playing casinos around here.
yeah.
There's one in Moncton. They keep playing there.
It's funny you said that about the casinos, because that's keeping that's the main source of employment for a lot of older musicians now. You know what I mean?
It
Like,
is. It
but they're
is.
great venues. Like they're soft seaters, and it's like going to a movie. And the sound is excellent, and it's like,
You don't have to put up with the crap you would have put
yeah,
up with in your early days, like not
yeah,
getting paid or stuff
yeah,
like that. It's just they
yeah.
treat you well. They bring you in. They treat you well. They know you're bringing people in,
Yeah,
so
and
they treat you with respect.
even from an audience like point of view, every seat's a good seat because it's not too big, and all modern venues. So yeah,
For
it's
sure.
great. Yeah,
For sure.
anything to keep live music going, you know.
Yeah, why not? And the sound is usually phenomenal in
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the rooms that
exactly.
they have. So
Yeah.
that's another. I mean, I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying it's
Oh,
just.
I know, I know. I was laughing when you said it because
Yeah.
that's what we were playing the last, 5 to 10 years of when we were doing the, like I told you, this reunion thing, and the casinos were always phoning, like, we would do gigs with Coney Hatch or Platinum Blonde, or I can't even remember, just
Yeah.
a lot of guys around the same
Same era.
era. Yeah, and they're
So
Canadian. They were supporting a lot of Canadian acts, which was good too.
something you mentioned before, I'm gonna ask you this: is the cruise thing seem to be a thing too?
Yeah.
Like I'm hearing a lot about these cruises, like an '80s cruise where you go on a
Well,
cruise ship and it's like legendary '80s bands playing all week when you're on the boat. Like, is
the,
that you said you did one of those?
we did. I think it might have been 2000. What year did COVID come out?
2020.
Okay, so maybe 2018. We did. It's called the Monsters of Rock
Okay.
cruise, and they do it annually. And every band from that era, at one
Yeah.
time or other, does it. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the last few years, I think Tesla's been the main headlining act.
Okay.
Because every time I click on YouTube, it seems like Tesla's doing it again. But when we played, you got a week on the boat, and you do
Yeah.
2 shows, and it's all paid for. Everything's paid for. You get
Yeah.
and you're bringing you home a good buck, and you got your own balcony suite.
Probably
Like,
bring your family with you too and make
if
a
you wanted
vacation
to,
out of
yeah,
it. Yeah.
if you wanted to, you could, yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, we each had our own room, and they, like I said, we had balcony suite rooms. It was excellent, and like there was music on every floor of the boat, and it was these monster cruises. You know what I
Is it
mean?
a better way for the fans to meet you too?
Oh yeah, it's totally.
Fan
And you know
friendly?
what? The fans are cool. Everybody's cool. It's not like anybody's hounding anybody or
Yeah.
anybody's. It's very intimate.
Yeah.
And that going, if you don't want to be bothered, don't even go play it then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's everybody's there to have a good time, and
Yeah.
everybody's just having a blast. Yeah.
And of course, the other way to tell you're getting too old is when you start going to bed at the times you used to go out.
I'm guilty.
Yeah, so am I.
Well, it's called not getting in trouble.
Yeah.
I've come this far and not gotten in trouble. It's just too crazy out there after a certain time. Like I
Sometimes,
even
yeah.
if I'm playing somewhere, I even tell them, if I'm saying I'm doing an acoustic gig or something, it's like, I want to be finished by 11 so I can be home by midnight. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I remember
come
times. Yeah, you're
come
going to
home
bed
and
at like
chill out.
you're going to
Pardon me?
bed. You're going to bed at the time you
Yeah,
used to just do your pre-drinking before you went
yeah,
out.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't do that anymore. No, it's too dangerous, and there's too much to lose. I'm at this point,
Yeah.
just enjoy what you got, and rock on.
Anyway, thanks for joining me, Stevie. I really
Hey, Alan,
appreciate
this is
it.
great. Yeah,
Great to
good
chat with
luck.
you. I'm happy for all the success you had with Brighton Rock. I'm glad to be able to talk about it with you.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm glad you reached out. And, if there's ever anything you feel like we haven't touched on, and you want to
Do
touch up on something,
do a
it's
follow-up interview.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something like that. And if you're ever out in the Maritimes again or in PEI, make sure you look me
So
up.
were you in Summerside?
Charlottetown,
Okay.
right in the big city.
How are things there? Is it cold there right now, or what?
Yeah, we got some snow today, but it
Yeah.
melted when it got up to like 8 degrees and rained. So, but
Unbelievable, eh? Jesus.
yeah, trust me, I think Ontario's had worse of a winter so far than we have,
Wow.
to be honest with you.
That's amazing, because usually out there, right on, I
Usually
remember
we
being
get
out.
it hit. We get it worse.
Well, I know you do. That's what I'm saying. I remember being in Truro or something once, and we got stranded there, and it was like, oh my God, this is.
Well, you guys get worse snow down in your part of Ontario.
Well,
Well,
not
Buffalo seems to get
Buffalo
hit.
does. Buffalo does, yeah. But
And it seems to stop at the Canadian border.
yeah, for some reason. As soon as you pass Niagara Falls and you go into St. Catharines, it's like it stops. It's like, okay, I don't know if the escarpment does it, but it's whatever. Buffalo just had to cancel a football game the other day because of the
That's
snow.
right. That's right
And
too. They couldn't even get into the seats apparently.
no.
Yeah.
So who knows? It
Well,
is what it is.
that's
No
Canadian.
earthquakes or anything, so I'm happy about all that shit. So
Anyway, thanks a
we're
lot.
Canadian. Snow don't bother us.
No, we can deal with it.
The show must go on, right?
That's right. Like you said, you had to drive through. You had to drive through it to get to the next gig, right? So.
Yeah. Otherwise, we didn't need to get paid or nowhere to sleep. So we got
Awesome.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Again,
hey, that's right. It's rock and roll, man.
That's right. Again, thanks a lot, Stevie. I hope we can talk again soon sometime.
Yeah.
Take care, man.
Okay.
All right. Bye.